I am joined now by UFC heavyweight Curtis Blades, who faces again Francis Ngannou November 25th, all the way back in China. He joins me now via the magic of Skype. Curtis, how are you this fine afternoon?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing very well. I really appreciate your time today. A couple things I want to get to just to start things off. When the UFC came back to you and said, hey, we want you to rematch Ngannou, your immediate thought was what?
I was happy because it was pretty much the only alternative. It was either that or just me having to wait and see what happens with this whole Brock Lesnar DC things. So I was just happy to have an opportunity to stay active and get another win.
Well, were you worried you were going to have to sit out a long time after you beat Overeem, waiting for DC to do whatever DC is going to do?
Yeah, there was no telling like when they're going to fight, because who knows if Brock Lesnar, if he gets out of the you saw the testing pool, or who knows when they actually finalize the deal. So I didn't want to just be hanging around in the wind, just waiting.
Now, was Ngannou like your first choice? Like if you had, I mean, obviously DC would be the top choice, right? So, but put that out for a second. Not including a championship title shot. Did you have a preference beyond that?
I mean, I would have preferred Stipe, but I asked for Stipe for the November 10th card here in Colorado, but he didn't want it. So, and I understand. He feels he deserves a rematch. So, Ngannou was the next best option.
Do you think he deserves the rematch?
He has a very strong case for it, because he did defend the belt the longest in heavyweight history, and it was a first round loss. And I remember when Joanna, when she got knocked out by Rose in the first round, they gave her an immediate rematch. So yeah. I understand why he feels the way he feels, but I also understand this is a business, and he's almost in the same position as I am. He doesn't have he's not a fan favorite. I mean, I like him. I think he's a great fighter, but a lot of your everyday fans, they don't really appreciate his game. So I get why the UFC picked Derek Lewis, because Derek Lewis has a lot of Instagram followers. He said funny things in his post-fight interviews, so I get it.
Why do you think you're not a fan favorite, to use your own words?
I mean, I know what a lot of fans, well, not a lot of fans, but there's a population in the fans of MMA that find it hard to appreciate wrestling. And I'm a wrestling-based fighter, and they see it as boring. And I mean, I wish they didn't. I'd like to change the minds in this next fight and throughout my career, but I think that's the biggest issue. They don't like to see a guy take another guy down and ground and pound. They want to see big men in the middle just hucking and chucking at each other. And I get it, but that's not my game. That's not my style. I have the best grappling in the division, and I'm going to use it to my advantage.
But bit of a side issue here. Do you kind of believe that some of the reasons maybe why DC gets booed is for that, or do you think? And he gets booed less than he used to, of course. I was just at 230. Some boos, but not nearly as many as it used to be. Is it a fight style issue, or is that just a John Jones rivalry issue?
I think it's more of a John Jones rivalry issue. I think majority of the fans are pro John Jones, which means if you're pro John Jones, that means you're anti DC.
Fair enough. But Stipe, to your point though, he won a lot of fights via knockout. Now the Ngannou fight that he had went the distance, and it was not that way. But by and large, he's been knocking people out. So why would you and him be in the same boat? Is it just because he doesn't like seek out the spotlight?
Yeah, he's not a attention seeker. He doesn't promote the way I think the UFC would like him to promote himself. a la Derek Lewis or Kobe Covington, guys of that nature. He doesn't like do the look at me type of things. And
Have you ever... Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm just saying I respect him for that. I never really saw a need for all that extraness. Like, you go in there, you fight, you win, you lose, no matter what. You respect your opponent before and after the fight.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, look at you now, man. You're like, you were always a top prospect, and now you're a top contender. You've never felt the need to be like, all right, maybe just this once, I'll go out there and say a bunch of wild things and boost my profile. But you haven't done that. Why not?
It's not a part of my character. I come from a wrestling background, and we never did that. You don't do that. When you go to a wrestling tournament, you get a bracket. You look at the bracket, and you wrestle who you're going to wrestle. It doesn't matter if you talk smack or not. You're going to have to wrestle the number 4 seed or the number 8 seed. So talking smack, it wasn't really a factor in that sport, and I've just always had that mindset. Like, I'm going to fight whoever they give me, and I don't need to hype it up.
All right, so let's talk about this fight with Ngannou. A couple of things that stand out to me. I want to go through the list here. Man, you're a bit of a road warrior. You guys first fought in Zagreb, Croatia. Nice place, by the way. You've been all over the United States, but beyond that, you've been to Perth. You've been to, Portland, Houston, Las Vegas, New York. Now you're going to China. Do you like... I mean, it's one thing to travel through the United States. It's quite another to go travel the world as you're doing. Do you like that? I mean, do you hate it? Are you just part of the game? Where do you come down on the travel issue?
It's not really an issue for me. A lot of these places I've been sent to fight are places I would have ever actually thought about going to visit. So I see it as just an opportunity to explore the world, and I don't have to pay for it. You know, it's like, it's a win-win for me. Like, I never would have gone to Beijing had I not had a fight out there. So I appreciate the opportunity to see other cultures and experience the world.
That being said, there are questions about performance. Now, the Zagreb fight was your UFC debut, and it was against Ngannou. We'll circle back to that in a second. You did win the one in Perth. That was against Mark Hunt. At the time, your biggest win to that point, although the Overeem win might be bigger now in retrospect. But point being is, to what extent does that impact your preparation? Like, how much extra do you have to do?
It's not really a big difference. I treated it like a normal fight week. Well, no, I go out there a little extra, a few days extra. Sorry. Hey, Austin, would you? Sorry. No,
it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, it's just like a normal fight week. I go out there a few days early just to reacclimate to the time zone, but by Wednesday, it's a normal fight week.
So the first fight was your UFC debut. You did get him down a few times. I think it was your right eye that was all swollen up. But before we dig into those specifics, when you think back to that fight and you look at it, number one, how many times have you gone back and looked at it? I guess number two, what does that first fight mean in your mind?
I've watched that fight at least a dozen times. I haven't watched it in a few months now, but I've watched it at least a dozen times. I've picked it apart, all the things I did wrong, all the mistakes I made, all the ways I could have won. I had plenty of opportunities to win that fight. When I took him down the first time and I allowed him to get an underhook and just get back up, I could have easily, had I had the knowledge I have today, I would have easily been able to counter that underhook and hold him down and ground and pound him out, because he didn't have great conditioning then. He doesn't have great conditioning now. I know if I hold him down for 2 to 3 minutes, he'll be gassed. He'll be done for. So that right there just lets me know I could have beat him back then with all the holes I had in my game. And today, I'm 10 times better than the version of myself that debuted that day. So I know I can win.
All right, so go ahead.
I have so many different ways to win now. I don't have to wrestle, but most likely I will wrestle because I know that's his weakest area of MMA.
So when you talk about that first fight, you did get him, as I mentioned, you got him down a bunch of times. The right eye got super swollen. In fact, that's why they ultimately stopped the contest. The doctor did between rounds, I guess, basically. I think it was after the second round, if my memory serves.
Yeah.
How hard of a hitter was he? Pretty hard, right?
No, yeah, he hits. I will give him that. Like, he hits very hard. He hits extremely hard. He's not the hardest hitter I've ever faced. I think that would be Mark Hunt, but he definitely has hammers in those fists.
Now, where do you think he is, man? Because he had that fight with Stipe, and then he had the fight with Derek Lewis, and it just hasn't been the same. I'm not saying he's done for. It's not a call I'm prepared or even able to make, but certainly it's been a bit of a detour. Where do you think he is?
That's a good question. I don't know because I've never had a two fight losing streak. But if I can project, I'm thinking he's probably feeling a bit of pressure right now. He knows he loses another one, doesn't look good. That would be 3 back losses in 1 year, and he's a fan favorite. But you can still get released after that. So I know he's got a little bit of pressure on him, and that might make him press. And when guys start pressing, they make mistakes, and it usually gets worse.
Let me see how you feel about this. Do you think that there's been a debate in the MMA media about this, and you probably heard it as well, maybe even thought about it, which was that fight with Stipe Miocic. It's like, look, I know in MMA you never know when someone's done, but it also seems to me this guy wasn't a 5-round fight where he was getting bombed on and just controlled and thrashed. And then he comes out in his next fight and he can't even pull the trigger. Should his corner have intervened in the first fight to save him that beating? The first fight meaning not the one with you, but the Miocic fight.
No. I wouldn't want my coaches to intervene in that situation. It's up to me to get out of the bad spot. Like if you're on your back, it's up to them to do the work prior to the fight. And I'm sure they did. I'm sure they drilled get-ups. I'm sure they drilled how to get off the cage and all that. But he wasn't able to apply it. But you have to give your fighter every opportunity to apply the knowledge that you've already instilled in him. I think that's what they were doing.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate if I may. Again, I don't know what the truth is because we still have to see how he performs in this fight and going forward. The jury's still very much out. But let's imagine a scenario where because of that Miocic fight, he's now damaged. He just can't pull the trigger. You'd still not want your coaches to intervene if it led to that kind of permanent consequence?
If it led to that, then I would probably retire. If I can't pull the trigger in a fight, that's just not smart to go into a fight like that. You have to go into a fight believing in all your tools. And he doesn't have a lot of tools, but the one tool he does have is a nasty overhand. So if you don't believe in that, then yeah, you shouldn't be in the octagon. You can get hurt. If he goes in there and he fights me the way he fought Derek Lewis, it'll be real bad for him. So I'm hoping he's in a better place in his head right now, that he believes in his skill set. I want him to be at his best. I don't want any excuses from the fans or pundits or anyone. I want him to come out guns blazing.
So a win. Let's say you get a nice emphatic win, right? Let's reverse it. You get a win with inside 2 rounds or something like that. Where does that put you? Because you're already kind of in a pretty good position. Now what do you get?
Honestly, I don't know, because there's so many different variables. Like we previously stated, Brock Lesnar's he's in the mix. I've heard John Jones, he might bump up the heavyweight, so he's in the mix. You still got Stipe hanging around, he's in the mix. So there's a lot of variables. I haven't really tried to project past this fight, because I did that previously with the Alistair Overeem fight. I projected, I beat Alistair, then I should be going after the belt. Especially after I watched Derek Lewis versus Ngannou, I didn't think either one of them, after after the second round, I didn't believe either one of them deserved the title shot. Whoever won, I didn't believe they deserved the title shot. So I was already in my head. I'm already thinking, oh, I'm next. And then I get disappointed because I'm not next. So I just don't want to do that to myself again. I'm just not going to project like that.
Okay. So let's say you win this and you don't know exactly where that puts you. What is the plan then? Just to stay active?
I guess the plan would be ask for Stipe. And if we get it, great. Because if I beat him, then yeah, there's no denying me. But that's only if he accepts the fight. If he doesn't, I really don't know. I'd have to talk to my manager, talk to my coaches, get their input, and go from there. It's just a weird situation to be in, like limbo.
Now, you mentioned wrestling is your base, and it's likely the way you'll fight this one. But let's say you beat Ngannou, then you would have to face Stipe, who's also a really good wrestler. How do I ask this question? Do you have enough confidence in your hands that, let's say, Stipe was able to stop your takedowns, you could win strictly on the feet?
Yes. My movement, my footwork, my head work, my conditioning. I think that's my greatest attribute is my conditioning. I'm here in Denver. I train at 5,500 feet every day. I believe I'm the best conditioned heavyweight in the division. So I believe eventually my right hand will find a home and I'll be able to win the fight. And that's only if I couldn't get the takedown. And I fully believe I can still get the takedown. I don't know if you know, but I previously, back when I was an amateur, like 5 years ago, I was a part of Stipe's camp for Gabriel Gonzaga, and we sparred and we wrestled, and back then I could take him down. He would beat me on the feet, but the dump was always there. And I was just trying to give him a good look on the feet, so I tried not to shoot too much. But whenever I did, not whenever, but a lot of the times when I did take a shot, I ended up getting it. I just didn't know what to do with it because he was better on the ground. But the skills I have now combined with the wrestling, I fully believe I would be able to get a takedown eventually, and I would be able to, because I'm heavier than he is. He'd have to hold my weight. I know that would gas him out.
Do you welcome Jon Jones at heavyweight if that's a path he takes?
Jon Jones is the GOAT. He's the greatest. I think anyone who gets the opportunity to face a guy of his skill level, a guy like him or an Anderson Silva, like those type guys, they're legends. So yeah, if he decided to bump up to heavyweight and we had to fight for the belt, I'd welcome it. If there's nothing else I can do, I can't go down a weight class. So we'd have to fight.
All right, before we let you go, are you a big fan of Chinese food? How are you planning to feed yourself when you're out there?
It'll be a lot of orange chicken. A lot of that.
What is your walk around weight, by the way?
Right now I'm walking at like 255.
You got a little room. You got a little room, I guess. Well, you know what? I know it's a long trip. I don't want to keep you any longer. I really appreciate your time, Curtis. Best of luck against Francis Ngannou. It'll be the 25th for us. I think the 24th for you, but whatever it ends up being that weekend. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on your show.